what is gender?
A definitive answer for that, like how many genders are there, is not really, we can't really answer
So
that.
that's the reason we have this
B,
LGBT and it's the
yes, yes,
line is
yes, yes,
getting
yes,
longer.
yes.
Is this normal, by the way? Because there is a chunk of population who says कि इनका दिमाग खराब हो गया है. Good morning to all viewers. I think this is our fourth podcast with Dr. Safia, clinical director. Today we are going to delve into a very delicate, very sensitive topic, which is gender. So there has been a lot of talk about it, but we will try to limit it within the world of psychiatry. So my first question to you, without delaying, what is gender?
So, as a normal, in any normal conversation, if you ask about what is your gender in any forms or any of the any discussions we have, like let's say if you have a newborn baby, your first question would be what's the gender, right? Whether it's a girl or a boy. The identification of gender mostly and largely has been biological. So if it is, it mostly talks about the reproductive organs that you carry. So the identification mostly by and large has been biological, as to this a male or a female.
So as per the science, how many genders are there?
So because the discussion has become um, so much more around gender, there's no specific number as to what is, whether it's by the binary aspect of male and female has been now questioned, and the definition itself has evolved from just being biological to now being sociological and then being an identity. So this there are different categories which has been come up now. So having a definitive answer for that, like how many genders are there, is not really, we can't really answer that, because now we're talking about fluidity. So there is a spectrum wherein we talk about what kind of a gender you identify with respect to sociological term, with respect to identity and expression and biology. So
So
there's a
does that
layer to
mean,
it.
yeah, does that mean that, okay, then there are two sex, one is female, male as a, from the birth, then it becomes a choice that what gender you opt for?
So the dichotomy or the binary way we were looking at it's a male and a female, and then what you become. Now that itself is a thing to be discussed. So are you born with the gender? Though this is the way I'm born, like I am a male or a female, or I am a transgender, or I'm a cisgender. So that depends upon many factors, like how you identify. So there is here also there is a component of a nature, how you are born and what kind of hormonal aspect you have, what kind of chromosome you have, what kind of pitch of the voice you have, what kind of the choices you make, to how you have nurtured and what kind of a cultural impact you've had, what kind of a transitions that you've had. That determines that what kind of an expression you have as a gender.
No, I'm confused. I am not able to understand because, see, like me, there are thousands and millions of people who have this question. I mean, for me, I'm going to make one bold confession here. I mean, till today, I have no knowledge about how we differentiate between genders, how this whole revolution of LGBTQ, came up.
Yeah, so to put it simply, so let's say your friend had a daughter, what kind of gift are you going to buy?
Yeah, so based on the sex,
Hmm.
so I won't call that a gender. Based on the sex, if it is a female baby, if it is a male baby,
So
so
what are you going to buy?
I'll choose maybe for a baby girl any dress which is basically a feminine. If it is a male baby, I think with babies we don't have that attitude
Oh,
wherein
let's
we
say 10-year-old.
10-year-old, yeah, obviously I will incline myself towards feminine traits,
Yeah.
characteristics.
So there's a stereotype, right? Like now, this is how a girl is, a girl is going to like a pink frock or maybe a kitchen set, and a boy maybe he likes a transformer, right?
Or maybe with the female
Yeah,
Barbies, yeah.
yeah. So there is a stereotype that we all are born with, right? We are not even taught. It's there. Like, okay, if it's a boy, let me give him a video game, and for a girl, I'll give a kitchen set. So that part of what identity or an expression of a gender should have is mostly socially determined and culturally determined. So there are, okay, let me put it this way. There are three aspects of gender. One is a biological gender. So now I do a chromosomal test or
Yes.
a genetic test and say you're a male or a female. Or I look into your reproductive organ and say you're a male or a female. I identify with the pitch of your voice that you're a male or a female, then kind of look into the changes in your, maybe the width of your, you know, shoulders or
Hmm.
hip or something, and then kind of say this is a male or a female. So this is completely a biological expression of a gender. That's understood.
Yes.
So in that, there could be male, there could be female, there could be intersex. Sometimes you're born with a hormonal defect. You are born with a chromosomal issue. You're born with not having a properly developed sex organs like uterus or all of that. There is a problem there. So there could be an intersex. There could be the genitalia could be representing both the genders. That could be an inter uh, sex. So then that becomes a third category. So
Hmm.
wherein then how do you define that person who has a biological problem?
Okay.
So that's that's understood. So
Yes,
that's
that's
a
so
biological
that would be
expression.
genetical, hormonal, physical, and societal.
Appearance, like
Okay.
how this person appears bodily,
Hmm.
is completely how are you born,
Hmm.
right? How are you born? How are you appearing? So
Hmm.
now you go to a doctor does an examination and then say, so this person has a male genitalia, so it's a male, or it's a female genitalia. Then you declare, no, it's a female
Yeah,
baby
X
born,
X X Y.
XXXY, and
Yeah.
then intersex,
Hmm.
wherein the penis is not developed or the vagina is not developed, so there's an intersex. So then that whether that third person with an intersex is a male or a female depend upon the expression, which
Hmm.
organ is developed. So
Hmm.
this is biological, and that happens very frequently. And the incidence is lesser, but then there is a class which is transgender, and they need an identity too, the space
True.
too, right? So
True.
that's a biological expression of your gender.
Gender.
That's clear. Now comes a social expression of a gender. Okay. Now, socially, I think a male is supposed to be a particular way. Now, this male can be aggressive, he can show tantrums, he can do whatever, he can, he has a separate restroom. So the way the washrooms are designed and the expectation they can have pranks, they can do anything. But a female is supposed to be quieter, they should be little disciplined, they are supposed to be nurturing people. So this kind of a categorization of the role allocation that society has made, that becomes a identity, how you identify a role a gender should have. A female should behave this way, a male should behave this way. There's a binary again. Okay, now that's again classified very, I think that that's also stereotypical thinking the society has had from before, that a male is this way, okay, this guy can be like that, a female can be and should be like that. And the protection given to a female as to, you are supposed to be protected by
Yeah,
the
that is.
man.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt here because if I go one generation back, if I see my father, he was kind of portraying himself as a caregiver, protector. There was an economical
Hmm.
dependence, and my mother was, kind of take care of the home, take care of the children, and domestic chores. So now this generation, because of the push from the equality and the other, very delicate terms like feminism,
Hmm.
misogynist, then do you think because of that push, the whole dynamics of the old generation has changed?
So that is a social shift, right? The role, what role, who will cook, who will clean the dishes, and who will earn the money. Now, because a woman is also working, who is going to share the rent or who is going to do investment? Those kind of discussions have definitely changed. That's a social transformation that has happened. What I'm talking about is the identification of gender, like gender roles, and how are they supposed to be as individuals. Let's say a working woman or somebody who's quite accomplished, but
Hmm.
still there is a subtle expectation how a woman should be or a male should be. So that definition, which is inherently there, that
Hmm.
becomes a gender identity.
Okay.
Okay, that also, to a large extent, depends upon your sexual orientation as well. A male is supposed to be like that. A female is supposed to be like that. Now, there's another aspect where is the problem of confusion comes is a gender expression. How do I express
Hmm.
myself to be?
Okay.
Now, there is that's when the spectrum varies.
Okay.
Now, our inability to put everybody into one box. Okay, now you express yourself this way, you express yourself that way, that is becoming a problem. And that's where we need to understand further to why the variations are coming and how the choices are differing, how the orientations are differing, and how our identity is differing. That's where most of the issues come.
So that's the reason we have this
B,
LGBT, and it's the
yes, yes,
line is
yes, yes,
getting
yes,
longer.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So now let's come to expression per se. So I can be born this way, that I only feel a particular way, that I like to, like, let's say the choices of dress for a boy or a girl is very different, right? So a
Yeah.
girl will wear a particular dress. Okay, she'll wear a lot of jewelry and probably do makeup and stuff like that. So if a man does that, it kind of is taken differently. So the expression that way becomes now a question.
Hmm.
So now let's say a man wants to leave a long hair and he wants to wear a skirt and he feels good about it. So where do you put him?
Gay.
Yeah, that's where the problem. It is not a game.
Hmm.
That's where the issue is. That's where we need to focus our discussion on. Right now, the preferences and the choices and the comfort zone, feeling belonged or feeling okay in sync, differs from
No,
person to person.
I would like to stop you here. Is this normal, by the way? Because there is a chunk of population who says कि इनका दिमाग खराब हो गया है. You need to fix their mind because see, a male is born as a male biologically. Then he is having inclinations towards heterosexuality. Hisab, from the perspective of that, he should be attracted to females, but he is getting attracted to males now. Is this mental health wise, psychiatry wise, is this normal? Because there has been a lot of talk about it.
Yeah, so there again, let's say one is the expression of self, like how I want to express myself as an individual. Let's talk about individuality per se. So now how I want to dress, or how I want to relate to particular thing, how I want to cry, or I want to emote with a certain situation, and what my choices of career or dresses or food or hangout or anything. That's a self expression. So there is subtle femininity and masculinity.
Yeah.
So there are certain things which is very feminine and very masculine. So let's say a woman is very masculine, and then that person is a little more different than a typical, the way she walks or the way she dresses or the way she chooses stuff. So that also comes as a part of an identity, which is a thing of controversy or discussion. And the orientation. Now, sexual orientation is nothing to do with gender, by the way. So, gender is different and orientation is completely different. So, whom are you
Okay.
attracted to?
Okay.
Whom you feel comfortable with? That has another layer of, there is a lot of things which we need to consider. So, let's say a person, okay, normally a female is supposed to be attracted to a male is supposed to be attracted to a female, which is normal. Now, a, let's say a boy is attracted to a boy and a female is attracted to a female, and now the concept of marriage, institution, social structure, everything comes into picture, and that's where the controversy becomes. Right now, every parent is born with this dream that my daughter should get married to a man and they should have a children. And again, when that itself is shaken, that's where so much of discussion is coming up. So now, whether it's normal or abnormal, so the choices, the attraction, the towards the opposite gender or the same gender is again biological. Some are, we cannot really put it into a corner, into the box and say they're born that way. We cannot kind of fixate to a point and say, okay, now they're born that way, they're going to be that way. There's one group of revolutionaries talking about that, asking for their right, saying that, okay, now they're born that way. They're fixated to that point,
But there is
which,
a small percentage.
yeah, which I feel is wrong. I mean, in the sense, like, we cannot be fixated. We all evolve over time. Okay, you may be born as straight person who is attracted typically to the opposite sex, but then as you grow, as you evolve, as your environment, cultural factor influence you, or the kind of experience you've had, you may be attracted to the same sex at a later point. So, which is typically happening, and we having to categorize them as abnormal people is something which is inhuman, and we need to really look beyond the surface. So, it's not only about what they are sexually attracted to, but who they are as a person matters more. Whether it is he, she, more than that, it is me, that person. So, we need to go beyond what they express and then talk about it rather than just putting them that's abnormal.
Okay, so let me break it up for the audience. So we spoke about sex, we spoke about gender, then we went to identity, then we went to expression, then we went to orientation. So in order to reiterate one more time, what are the major differences between these all things which I just now mentioned? Can we again kind of paraphrase it for the benefit
So
of the
I
audience?
think the pain point here is to identify whether it is normal, abnormal, whether should we support them, shouldn't support them, or should, when many people are coming out and telling that, okay, now I'm this, how should our response be?
Exactly.
And where does religion stand here, and what kind of a social impact or a cultural impact this issue has? So, I think social, cultural, religious impact is something which I will not touch upon.
Yeah.
What I would probably want to discuss is how it affects an individual, how
Mm-hmm.
how and what, and the fluidity of it, how it is a gradient. Now, there's a different shades of gray, right? So we cannot just say, okay, this is
To
how, no, no,
gray.
this is a gay, this is an LGBT, this is a pure, this is heterosexual, this is, so there is a different shades of gray, and every human being is different and unique. So it's very inhuman for anybody to categorize one person into one box and then pathologize it, which is not right.
Okay, we are planning to have a separate podcast for gender versus religion.
Okay.
So as of now, let's kind of limit it to the mental health, the psychiatric or scientific, prism. So with respect to orientation, as you were telling me, K, it's not about the genetics behind it; it's about the choices we make. So, I mean, there are
I didn't
people.
say that.
You didn't say
There
that.
are two angles to it. So there could be genetic, there could be choices, that could be cultural influence. It varies. That's why I told. We cannot put everybody in one basket. This is what it is. There is a way. That's why it's called fluid.
Yeah.
There's spectrum to it. There's from 0 to 100. So having to just judge a situation just based on what orientation they have or what choices they made is not right. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, but I think this is all made up because
As per the story historically and
evidence based, genetically.
if you say XX XY.
Okay, let's take one more, maybe trans, or, cis and trans. Where is the other coming in then? Because then we are letting the choices to be one of the departments, right? Because things are going to get weirder then, right? So if you allow one female to have a relationship with a female, you call it lesbian, by the way, then it's an institution. Then what? How are they going to have kids then?
Okay, so I'm not looking at a social factor now because that's another complicated discussion to make. What I'm talking about, the pain the individual goes through, okay, and the respect that we need to do as a mental health professional and not discard them.
But do you feel they need treatment?
See, a relationship is not as simple as marriage alone, right? It's about attachment, it's about attraction, it's about comfort, it's about safety, it's about your alignment, it's about attach. There's so many aspects that comes before marriage. How are you connecting to another individual? The connections happens from multiple factors.
I think we have not been able to do justice to the topic because the topic is so diverse, it's so delicate. There are so many small nuances which we need to discuss. It calls for a second podcast. I am 100% sure about it. And I think I am somehow not satisfied with what you said. So I need to ask those questions. I need to get those answers. So I think we will have to do second podcast. I would request my team, and I would also request my audience till we get the second podcast done. I want you guys to support me in the sense, put the comments there. Let's ask difficult questions. Let's just get the answers from there.
And support me also if at all you kind of want more questions answered. Please ask more questions. Let's have a meaningful discussion and arrive at a beautiful solution.
Yeah, let's do that.